You're watching NFL Daily. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to give you some big-name players that I believe could either be cut or could be traded before final roster cuts, which are due on August 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you love Chat Sports and if you love free NFL content, always remember that you can subscribe on YouTube or you can follow us on Rumble. We're live right now on Rumble. In fact, this video went out on Rumble before it went out on YouTube. So if you're the type of person that likes to know things before they happen, then follow us over on Rumble. You can see the link down there below and in the description of today's video. Let's go to the first name coming up here. It's Miami Dolphins tight end Mike Gesicki. And there's been reports out there that Gesicki could be traded. Personally, I like him a lot. If you're an offense looking for a pass-catching tight end, he's that dude. The issue is he doesn't quite fit with what Mike McDaniel is trying to do down there in Miami. He wants a tight end that can block a little bit. That's not what Gesicki is. I'm sorry. He also wants to be paid like a wide receiver. I don't necessarily blame him. Last season for the Dolphins, he lined up in the slot as a wide receiver 77% of the time. So I don't blame him for wanting to get paid like a receiver. The issue is this new offense needs tight ends, and they need tight ends that can block, and that simply isn't Gesicki. Let's go to the next big name here that I believe could be cut or traded. It's Robert Quinn, and he wants a new deal. I don't know if he's going to get one. I think that if you were to ask Quinn and if you were to ask the Chicago Bears, they both know that there isn't a long-term plan here. This is more of just going to be a hit-it-and-quit-it situation. He's coming off an incredible year where he had 18.5 sacks, 49 tackles. But if you were a team that is in win-now mode, looking for a Super Bowl run, you trade for Robert Quinn, because I'm sorry, Chicago's not in that window yet. And Matt Eberflus comes from Indianapolis, which they have always valued draft picks. Second-round pick right now for Robert Quinn gets it done. Maybe a third-round pick does, but there's no doubt some interest out there in the vet. Let's go to the next player coming up here. It's Nelson Agholor, and I think the first two players were trade candidates, weren't going to be cut. Agholor, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he was released by New England because, let's face it, he signed a 3-year, $21 million deal with the Patriots, coming off an incredible year with the Raiders, goes to New England, doesn't quite live up to the expectations, and New England has already made so many moves to try to replace Agholor. You got a brand new head coach, you got a brand new regime. I get Bill Belichick still there, but Matt Patricia's calling plays, which you never want to see. Now, his cap hit this upcoming season is a little over $14 million. If you move on from him, you save $4.88. So you're going to eat $10 million of dead cap hit. Now, if you trade him, the new team then is going to take on about $10 million, and you eat $4.88 million. It's a lot more favorable for them to cut him, or it's a lot more favorable for New England to trade him. The issue is, does anybody want to trade for a receiver making about $10 million coming off a season where he had 37 grabs, 473 yards, and he's had plenty, and I mean plenty, of drop issues throughout his career. The next player coming up here on my cut and trade candidates list is quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mason Rudolph. And minus the last game where he went 0 for 3 against the Lions, I thought he's played well. In fact, I think all Pittsburgh quarterbacks this preseason have played well. The issue is, you drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round. You signed Mitch Trubisky this offseason. That makes Rudolph your third best quarterback. The fact that Jimmy Garoppolo just signed a restructured deal, if you will, with the 49ers, if you're an NFL team out there and you're like, man, I was hoping that Garoppolo was going to become available, Mason Rudolph is definitely a name to keep in mind then and say, well, you know what? We could always look for plan B. And Mason Rudolph, I'm sure, has used plan B once or twice before. So remember, y'all, we're on Rumble, and I can say that shit. And if you want more awesome content, give us a follow over here on Rumble. Free and uncensored. Sports, news, politics, all that good stuff. We're a growing platform that I'm sure people want to hop on. So rumble.com/NFL Daily. Give us a follow. I promise we'll show you that we're dedicated individuals. Let's go to the next name here on today's show. It's Chuck Clark. Ravens stole Kyle Hamilton in round 1, fell all the way down to 14. You paid Marcus Williams this offseason a 5-year, $70 million contract. Yes, it does sound like Tony Jefferson is going to be moved on from, but there were multiple trade rumors around Clark earlier this offseason because, well, as soon as you see that deal for Kyle Hamilton and you saw the move for Marcus Williams, you're sitting there like, well, what am I going to do with Clark? And he's coming off a season where he played really well. So if I'm Baltimore, if I'm an NFL GM, I'm always going to try to sell high. You will not get more value for Clark unless you move on from him right now. Because if you wait and he doesn't play, the value goes down. Sell high after a year where he played solid football. So what do you think, y'all? I'm going through all these names here. I'm giving you cut. I'm giving you trade candidates. I want to know from everyone who comes across this video, give me one player that you believe could either be cut or traded before 4 p.m. Eastern time in the NFL. Next name up here on my trade cut candidates list is wide receiver for the New York Giants, Darius Slayton. And Slayton has been mentioned in multiple trade rumors. Hell, there was even one on Monday where he was linked yet again that teams are getting calls from him. Though Darius Slayton in this situation for the Giants, there's smoke and then there's fire. I think that the Giants right now are stirring up some smoke and hope that a trade actually goes down. Because a lot of times, what NFL teams will do, like, oh yeah, we're getting trade calls around Darius Slayton, when in fact they're not, and hope that an NFL team is like, oh wait, if they're getting calls, we actually like this kid. We were hoping that we could sign him if he became available. Well, now we'll make a trade, and now the Giants get at least something for him. I don't think it happens. I think he does ultimately just end up getting cut. Another wide receiver in New York, or East Rutherford, New Jersey, is Denzel Mims, and he requested a trade from the Jets just a few days ago. Had a solid preseason game. I liked him when he first came out of Baylor. He offered you a lot of speed, a lot of downfield ability. The issue is, man, he is just buried on the depth chart. And if he's traded, it's only going to cost the team $2.4 million. He's got 2 years left on his deal. If you need a vertical deep threat, Denzel Mims is a very, very intriguing prospect to keep in mind. Another player that was drafted in the first round is Alex Leatherwood, and he's been an absolute disaster with the Raiders, which really shouldn't surprise anyone because what did Mike Mayock and John Gruden do their entire career in Las Vegas? Miss on first-round picks. If cut, the Raiders would lose $4.59 million. It would be a dead cap hit of $7.86 million if he's cut. However, if he's traded, the Raiders save money, and you're only going to eat $1.96 million. For me personally, Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler have made it pretty obvious that if Leatherwood's out there, it's because other players are hurt. If the offensive line for the Silver and Black is 100% healthy, Leatherwood's not going to get in the game. If the Raiders can get a fourth-round pick for him, you make the deal. If not, I don't really think it makes a lot of sense to cut the former first-round pick. But Raiders have cut first-round picks before in the last few years, right? If you want even more Raiders content from me, go to RaidersReport.locals.com. You can scan that QR code right there. If it's easier for you, get out your phone, get your camera out. You hover over that bad boy, we got you covered. If you want to see some roster bubble candidates, maybe you're just genuinely, wondering, who could the Raiders move on from? Maybe my favorite team could sign them. I made a video about it. But the video I think most of y'all are going to be the most intrigued by are my overall stat projections for Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. The stat that I think will scare you the most, how many touchdowns I have both of these guys getting. What do you think? Combined? You guys can let me know. But RaidersReport.locals.com. Another name that's actually been brought up multiple times around the Raiders, and it's been brought up around the NFL circles, offensive tackle of the New England Patriots, Isaiah Wynn. There was a report that came out last week before the Patriots' final preseason game that Wynn could be traded, and that the Patriots have been listening to offers. If traded, the new team would owe him $10.4 million because he is in his final year of his fifth-year deal after New England extended them last season. If the Patriots don't bring him back, then he's going to be a free agent in the offseason, which there's absolutely going to be some teams interested. He has struggled a little bit this preseason. In the tape that I've watched, he hasn't looked great. If New England is like, okay, for a fourth-round pick, we'll move on for him, there's going to be teams interested. If they want a third or higher, it might be a little bit difficult from top to bottom. So let's go through these names one more time here, some cut and trade candidates. I got Mike Gesicki from the Miami Dolphins, Robert Quinn from the Chicago Bears, Nelson Agholor, wide receiver from the New England Patriots, Mason Rudolph, quarterback of the Steelers, though we were going to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, but while we were filming this video, he got his new contract done with the San Francisco 49ers, which probably actually helps out Mason Rudolph's stock. Chuck Clark, he's another name, safety for the Baltimore Ravens. Darius Slayton, wide receiver for the New York Giants. Denzel Mims, another receiver in there in New York. Alex Leatherwood, drafted number 17 overall for the Raiders last season. And then to round out our list, it is Isaiah Wynn. I knew I threw a lot of names at you there, y'all. It's okay. What I want to know, though, again, name a player that you believe could be cut or traded before roster cuts are due.